Two of crypto's largest exchanges, BitMEX as well as Bitmart, are now winding down operations after 9+ years of operating. These are two of crypto's largest exchanges, and this is why it's so important to study and also do your research on compliant regulated platforms where you can store your crypto with ease and with no stress at all. This is why iTrustCapital is one of the best platforms out there in the game. And if you guys do want to go sign up and check out the platform, you can get a free $100 funding bonus when you deposit $1,000 or more, utilizing my link down in the description below as well as in the comments below. What are you guys waiting for? It's one of the best platforms out there. Go check them out. You won't be disappointed. You guys already know that I've been all over BNY because they are preparing for the next generation of finance, payments, you name it. And all of this is with blockchain, DLT, tokenization, digital currencies, all of that in mind. The craziest part about this is just how big BNY is. Like, this is their most recent update from June 30th of this year. BNY touches approximately 20% of the world's investable assets, $62.6 trillion in assets under custody and or administration, $2.2 trillion in assets under management, and 100 plus provides custody services to clients in over 100 markets. It's crazy when you look at what they are doing right now with this technology that we talk about on a day-to-day basis. Because again, like, they are already behind this in a huge way with some of the biggest names from the space that we talk about as well. And now they are preparing for the next big phase. I go back just in time to some of the connections with Ripple. Realistically speaking, we know that BNY and Ripple have ties going all the way back to like 2016, 2017. But back in the beginning of the year, we got a clear confirmation that BNY was working with Ripple. Here we have BNY launches tokenized deposit solution back on January 9th. So breaking BNY expands digital cash capabilities by enabling the on-chain mirrored representation of client deposit balances on its digital asset platform via tokenized deposits. This launch helps advance BNY's ambitions to support programmable on-chain cash for institutional market infrastructure. In collaboration with early participants, we continue to connect the traditional and digital financial ecosystems to help our clients unlock new capabilities. And of course, Ripple was a key part of this. Today, our partners at BNY, which clearly they are working with BNY still, launched tokenized deposit services for institutional clients, bringing the promise of digital assets directly into the banking system. With Ripple Prime as an early adopter. Now, Ripple Prime is the key piece of this puzzle because this also includes XRP. Even though we're not seeing XRP being mentioned at all here, Ripple Prime has XRP integrated to handle a lot of the post-trade stuff. But we already heard from Mike Higgins from, of course, Ripple Prime, that XRP, they have a lot of plans with XRP. It's not just for post-trade services. But we're proud to expand our long-standing strategic collaboration with BNY, the primary reserve custodian of ROUSD. Together, we are bridging traditional and digital markets. Because yes, BNY also got confirmed back in the summer of 2025 to be the primary reserve custodian of ROUSD. But if we go over here, we have Watch Now. In a recent interview with FinTech Frank at the Ondo Finance Summit, the head of digital cash collateral and payments touched on the pivotal role BNY plays at the center of financial market infrastructure and how we can see scalability as one of the keys to bringing the future of finance on chain. Check this out.
I mean, BNY, if you think about it, sits at the center or is one of the core pillars of our financial market infrastructure. What are the current challenges or impediments to getting to a future where everything moves on chain?
It's a great question. I think a lot of it comes back to scalability. And so, we think of it in terms of the idea that blockchain is capable of so many things. I think what we know is that we can introduce scale that in some ways the blockchain community hasn't seen before writ large. And so it's a lot of testing and learning and trying to find those tools, whether it's things we build internally. And that's the same is true of many traditional finance platforms, whether it be asset managers or banks or payments firms or clearing shops. they're all trying to figure out what are the pieces that we put together, proprietary builds versus partnerships, existing L1s, to make sure that we have the right combination of skill sets, technology, scalability to bring the future of finance on chain.
To bring the future of finance on chain. By the way, let's go back down real quick. 20% of the world's investable assets, 62.6 trillion. One of the longest standing giants in finance as well. They have been dominating finance for decades. And now they are looking into new technologies, digitizing completely. From digitization and data to blockchain and AI, literally on their website. Guys, one of the biggest names in finance. We go over here. Digital assets, AI, and blockchain are converging to reshape the art of the possible in finance, and BNY is helping define what's next. Built on more than 2 centuries of innovation, we are embracing this moment with a clear focus on adoption, trust, and real-world impact. And here you get to be a durable long-term company when you innovate. This is from the CEO of BNY. Check this out.
We are a firm that's grown up with a whole bunch of different technologies, and we've learned over a long period of time that you get to be a durable long-term company when you innovate and when you really take advantage of the latest and greatest of what's available. And so our AI story has been one of 3 years really investing and innovating, and our digital asset story is very similar. We were the first large bank to offer digital asset custody, and we're excited about digital assets, AI, other technologies, and how they come together over time.
So yeah, I mean, obviously this is the new technology that's going to completely reshape finance as a whole, especially when it's coming from a name like BNY. I just went over all of the stats here. Like, they are a key operator in the financial world. But then we look at what they just announced. Breaking: BNY, the world's largest custodian bank with 59 trillion in assets, actually 62 trillion. Is moving fund transactions on blockchain. BlackRock is among the first to move on chain. BNY to adopt blockchain technology for records in new era for Wall Street. Banks rush to embrace tokenized system, blurring the lines between traditional finance and digital asset ecosystem. BNY is bringing one of Wall Street's core fund record-keeping businesses on chain. With 59 trillion, 62, in assets under custody and administration, the bank is moving its transfer agency to blockchain to create a single ownership ledger and reduce reconciliation. Look at the names tied back to this. Just absolutely insane. Guys, do you realize what's being confirmed here? Do you realize what's happening here? The shift is already underway. We are already witnessing the big push to a new system. And it's crazy because BNY, back on June 11th, and I included this in a video prior, they were named to the inaugural Fortune Crypto 100 list, spotlighting leaders shaping the future of digital assets. They stated that as financial markets evolve, we're focused on what clients need most: faster, more efficient movement of capital and greater certainty of settlement across an increasingly global, always-on framework. From digital asset custody and tokenization to stablecoin enablement and on-chain data capabilities, we're building a connected ecosystem that supports seamless interaction across traditional and digital markets. I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than this. Like, you have the biggest names in finance already here, making noise. And the craziest part about all of this, like, if you really think about what's happening here, everything is moving on chain. The biggest institutional players are already showing you that. So when we look at the total addressable market here, tokenized asset sectors target 100 trillion plus in markets. This is from Token Terminal. Looking into this, right? Stablecoins alone are monetizing global liquidity at 100 trillion plus in total addressable market. Today, $304 billion of stablecoins exist on chain compared to 100 trillion in global M2, 22 trillion in the US M2, $8 trillion in global cash. This implies a 329x upside versus global M2, a 72x upside versus US M2, and a 26x upside versus physical cash. And then we look at the tokenized funds, digitizing asset management. And this is perfect for names like BNY, BlackRock, etc. Today, $32 billion of tokenized funds exist on chain. $32 billion. Compared to $130 trillion in global assets under management. Again, BNY, $62 trillion. $130 trillion. $40 trillion alternatives plus ETFs, $8 trillion US money market funds. That's a 4,090x upside versus total assets under management, 1,259x upside versus alternatives and ETFs, and a 252x upside versus money market funds. What about tokenized commodities? Bringing real assets on chain, $54 trillion total addressable market. $54 trillion in gold, copper, and silver markets compared to $5 billion on chain right now. $32 trillion global gold market, $700 billion gold ETF market. A 10,000 plus X upside versus total commodities. 5,900 plus X versus gold. 131X upside versus gold ETFs. Tokenized equities, replatforming capital markets. Like all of this, by the way, is already happening. Tokenized equities, tokenized commodities, all of these things are already moving on chain. $144 trillion plus total addressable market. Today, $1 billion exists on chain. You're talking about a 124,000x upside versus global equities. A 60, almost 3,000x upside versus US equities. And a 17,000x plus upside versus financial sector equities. So the conclusion here is that the total upside potential, I mean, it's just, I can't imagine being bearish right now. When a name like BNY is moving on chain, when names like BlackRock are moving on chain, when banks like JP Morgan, Citi, Bank of America, they're all adopting this technology, now is not the time to be bearish. The time to be bearish was when none of these players were here and everyone was just crypto bros speculating on the big players moving in. You literally have the biggest players in finance here. Not only do you have the biggest players in finance here, but they're already working with some of the biggest names that are in crypto, like Ripple. Let me tell you guys this one more time. BNY has 94% of the Fortune 100 companies tied back to it, 96% of the top 100 investment managers worldwide, 96% of the S&P top 100 banks worldwide, 94% of the top 100 largest US retirement funds, 100% of the top 50 life and health insurance companies as well. Not to mention that if we go back to the homepage, they have $62 trillion in assets under custody. They're now launching tokenized platforms. This is insane. They're moving fund transactions onto the blockchain, on most likely public blockchains as well, because they want to bridge between TradFi and DeFi. That's only possible with public blockchain technology. This is one of the largest players in the financial space pulling the trigger on it and saying, that's it. Now is the time to adopt this technology. Now is the time to tap in. And by the way, if BNY is doing this, every other big player is going to do something similar. These are the types of moves that echo through financial worlds. These are the types of moves that enable the next 3, 5, 10 plus moves in line, because you're talking about some of the biggest pillars of TradFi saying that's it. It's now time to innovate. It's now time to tap into these new technologies. This is a crazy announcement. And obviously Ripple with ties back to BNY, even XRP, even ROUSD having ties back to it. Maybe they play a big role. Maybe they don't. Regardless of how we're looking at this, it's still the clearest confirmation that we are so early in this game. there's so much more upside potential. It is insanely bullish, guys. So with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys did, definitely like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord on the description below. And with that being said, guys, Nick, thanks for watching. Peace out, guys.